I emphasize on a certain way of thinking, I am strengthening that connection in my brain. So I am like forcing my brain to like focus on positive outcomes versus staying stuck in the negative.
Today's guest is Isha Julka, a former engineer and business operations leader who spent nearly 2 decades in the corporate world leading multi-million-dollar initiatives and global teams. While her career looked successful on paper, a quiet inner voice kept asking a deeper question. Is this all there is? After an unexpected job loss in 2023 became a turning point, Isha began a powerful journey of self-reconnection. Today, she integrates nervous system regulation, subconscious reprogramming, and energy embodiment tools to help high achieving women release old conditioning around worth and achievement. Through her movement, Whole Beyond Roles, Isha guides women to stop chasing validation and start embodying wholeness from within. Hi, Isha. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
So I am really excited to talk to you about this because I think seeking external validation is something that women go through specifically. And so I wanted to talk to you about your own journey and how you started getting into this world of helping women overcome that need for external validation.
Yeah, I think, like in my intro, when I lost my job, it was like that really led me on a journey to discover who I really am. Like I cannot be my job. I cannot be my role in the company that I held. I cannot be the paycheck I make. So who really am I? So I
Mm-hmm.
think that curiosity really led me on this path to like answer all these questions. And of course I was, reading a lot of self-help books that really helped answer that question. But what I really discovered, like at the root, I'm like, where did it all start? Like, where did this, seeking happiness in performing actually, where did I pick that up? And I think most of us, we don't realize it. It's like unconscious, but we pick it up very early on in our childhood. I think for me, what I discovered was um, growing up in India, the conversations were very, very much about performance. Oh, did you hear so and so's child got admitted to so and so's college and or they earned a role in so and so company, and they're making so much money. So like all the dinner table conversations and conversations in the extended family were centered around achievements. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a stereotype there's a reason why Indians are always associated with being smart people or intellectual people because
Mm-hmm.
it's like you have to be successful. You have to show up a certain way in the society for them to really accept you. So
Mm-hmm.
I think I started, so that really stayed with me very early on. And I didn't realize that was the case because it was all unconscious, but your brain is still picking up on things it's observing and it's forming a belief system. And that was my belief system, that if I want to be accepted in the society, if I want my family to accept me and approve me and love me, I had to fit this mold of, being a successful engineer or, getting an MBA degree or, having this kind of a job or, whatever it may be. So I think tracing back the roots, it started very, very early on.
Mm-hmm.
And, I took a lot of pride in it because I was always like, a straight A student and I was always the high achiever. And it was almost was a sign of pride for my family. And that made me feel good. But then on the other hand, when I lost my job and I'm like, wait, so now there's not going to be any reason for my family to be proud of me. Like I'm a failure. Like that's what my brain started connecting losing job to. It wasn't even my fault.
Mm-hmm.
We were actually traveling, visiting India when I got the phone call about, things happening in my company and that my position was affected and that within 2 weeks, I could either find another role or this was going to be it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but somehow my brain or our brains are very hung up on the idea of, we're so hung up on the negative piece. The first thought that comes to our mind is a negative thought. So
Mhm.
that's the story my brain chose to adopt. Like, I'm a failure because there must be something I did that led to this. And I
Mhm.
think that did not fit right with that high achiever, um, image that I had of myself.
Mhm.
So when that was taken away, or I should say that mold was shattered, I was like, okay, then who is this person? Um, so going back to your question, I think it it starts very, very early on, and we don't really we pick on these things and form a belief system which is unconscious, but until you become aware of it,
Mhm.
it stays unconscious and it continues to rule your life, because I know it
Mhm.
did for me. But the moment you become aware, like I did, you start challenging it and you're like, wait, who says, because that's what started happening when I'm like, who is telling me that I'm a failure? I am. Nobody else is.
Mhm.
Like, even in simple conversations, somehow my brain would pick up. Like, I remember one day we were having a conversation with our financial advisor, and he's like, well, because Isha's not working. And somehow my brain was like, is he trying to tell me something? I'm like, stop it. Like, you are inferring that. He's just making a pure statement.
Mhm.
But that's how deep rooted that belief was, that my
Uh-huh.
identity was based on my performance. And once got, that rug got pulled from underneath my feet, I was like, okay, so am I a failure now? But I think that's what really led me to go deeper and deeper and deeper, um, at the root of, why I was feeling and thinking this way and what can I do to change it.
Mhm.
And that's what really led to this idea of, you know, my success doesn't have to rely on an external outcome. Because
Mhm.
all the success that I had had up until that point, it's not that it went away. Those accomplishments were still mine. But somehow my story was exactly the opposite. It was very discouraging that, I had to keep achieving more. It was like I achieved this much and then I moved the goalpost, further. And I'm like, oh, I need to achieve more. So it's like almost like an unending pursuit. And you're always coming from this place of lack. Like you're
Mhm.
always lacking something in on the inside. And I think that for me was a big aha moment. Like, no, I'm not lacking anything.
Mhm.
I am I am whole. Like, I don't need anything on the outside to make me feel like I'm complete. And I think that really shifted my perspective of the whole situation. And even though nothing on the outside really had changed, but just this perception shift and this aha moment was like groundbreaking for me, because that really led me to, like, you know what? A lot of people struggle this way, and women in particular. And I need to share my story because I know a lot of people can relate to it, because
Mhm.
we always feel like there's something out there, and when I accomplish that, I'll feel good about myself. But then you realize it's like unending
Mhm.
chase. You're always chasing. There's always something more.
Mhm.
And you're always operating from that energy of lack. And
Mhm.
until you fix that feeling of lack, you're going to continue to embody that everywhere. So I
Mhm.
think for me, it was like creating that sense of wholeness, that sense of like all my desires will come into fruition, in the physical reality. But until then, I don't have to feel that I'm any less.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, that's really amazing. So, what was your personal journey then from like when your job or like your identity is connected to your job and then you find yourself in this situation where you no longer have that job, like what was your personal journey from to like rediscovering who you actually are without the job as part of your identity, because I think that's what a lot of people struggle with in terms of like rediscovering themselves, is when their identity is so wrapped up in this one thing. And then I think this is what a lot of people who are going into retirement, they kind of discover about themselves, is all of a sudden you take that thing away from them, especially, like the boomer generation, where the tradition was to like stay with the same company for like 30 years, 50 years, or whatever it is, right? And then all of a sudden you don't have that anymore. And then it's like, who am I? So I'm curious to know exactly what your journey was from changing your identity to, embodying something and being whole without the job.
Yeah, I think it was definitely like, if I could, it was like peeling the layers of the onion. Like,
Mhm.
it was like one layer at a time. And of course, I invested in a coach who really helped me figure out a lot of the stuff that I was struggling with, like what was at the root of all of that. And a
Mhm.
lot of that, I think majority of it was just this, you know, what she helped me understand is we all have this 5-year-old, 6-year-old version of ourselves whose needs or whose emotional needs never got met.
Mhm.
So now this 40-year-old woman is, you may feel a certain way, but then the 6-year-old version of you is still like looking for that acceptance and love that they never got, or at least
Mhm.
they never got it in the form that they expected.
Mhm.
Um, that really that made me really curious that, how massive an impact it is, like your early childhood and your upbringing has in shaping the person that you are today. And it
Mhm.
affects every area of your life. Your relationship with the people in your, family, how you make friends, the career you choose, how do you go about making money, your
Mhm.
relationship with money, like every single thing. It's like that decides, the
Mhm.
kind of life you're going to have in the future. I think for me, I just started really following my intuition, like that calm, gentle voice that would nudge me in a certain direction. And I would just keep following the nudge. So, after I started working with the coach, few months into it, and I was already seeing a massive change in my outlook towards things, and I wasn't complaining all the time. I wasn't feeling like a victim and that the life was, not fair to me, blah, blah, blah. Like was able to overcome all of that with her help. And
Mhm.
then slowly and suddenly I was like, I started, um, you know, diving deeper and deeper into how your beliefs shape your reality, and started picking up on a lot of different self-help books. I
Mhm.
was drawn to read more about manifestation. Like I've
Mhm.
always known manifestation, but I just went like super nerdy with it. Meaning, like,
Mhm.
what does it really mean? Like, I didn't know there was a whole science behind it. I have always been, inclined towards the logic of things, that run in the background and why the things are the way they are. Um, yeah, there's a law of attraction, but what is it underneath? And that really um led me, like I said, I read a bunch of books, and there were a handful of books that like really, really spoke to me. And
Mhm.
one of them was, actually two of them. One was Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself,
Mhm.
by Dr. Joe Dispenza. His
Yeah.
work has been instrumental in helping me discover, this new side of me.
Mhm.
And then his other book, Becoming Supernatural, I
Mhm.
think that was like, I was like mind blown
Mhm.
from just reading the stories of people, how they literally change their lives 180 degrees by simply starting to believe in different possibilities. And that's exactly what I did. Um, the trying to think, there was one more book. Oh yeah, The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer.
Mhm.
That book was cornerstone for me because all my And I am chuckling because all my life had been all about controlling the outcomes because it was all rooted in so much fear. Like if I
Uh-huh.
let things go, if I let the ball drop, something terrible is gonna happen, and I
Mhm.
cannot let that happen. So I was a major control freak. Things
Mhm.
had to be my way or highway. Like
Mhm.
that book, like literally was it was exactly the opposite of how I was functioning,
Mhm.
and how through Michael's story of exploring how this voice in our head that never goes away and that always has an opinion about everything and that's always talking, that's always there, how his curiosity about that led him on a journey. And ultimately, he was like, you know what? I am just going to let the universe um, follow the breadcrumbs from the universe. And he
Mhm.
was literally like, I'm surrendering 100%. Now,
Mhm.
I'm not there yet. I haven't fully 100% surrendered, but what I really got from it was the magic of letting go of the control, like letting
Mhm.
go of the fear behind the need to control everything.
Mhm.
And that, I think that for me was the highlight for my 2025, because I picked a word for when I started doing vision boards last year. I was like, I learned somewhere that, you can pick a word and that will decide basically all the decisions and how you act. And, that will embody your energy behind everything. So for me, that word in 2025 was allow.
Mhm.
And that was huge for me because it was like, okay, I'm going to trust the universe more, allow things to unfold for me, and try to slowly let go of that control and that grip. And to say it was difficult would be an understatement. It was like, you're driving at 100 miles an hour and you're like, okay, I'm going to let the car drive itself. And it's like, oh, I'm freaking out. But at the same time, it's like after a few weeks, when I got, when I loosened the grip a little bit, I saw how I was letting the life in. So, for
Mhm.
example, on my job search, it had been almost a year. And I had been I had at that point probably applied for thousands of jobs and not a single yes. A lot
Mhm.
of ghosting, a lot of no response, a lot of no's, not a
Mhm.
single yes. And it was soul sucking. I was like, I'm done with this. Like, I do not want to spend a single minute of my day applying for another job because I am not seeing any results. And I'm
Mhm.
like, universe, like, show me a way. There has to be a way. And this was like the beginning of the year when I had made this intention of allowing things.
Mhm.
And within 2 weeks, I get a note on my LinkedIn from someone, and they're like, "We help job seekers cast a wider net, and we apply for jobs for you."
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Wait, is there something like that? Like, how come I didn't know about this?" I knew about it. My brain just wasn't focused on it because I was so focused on doing it myself. They had
Mhm.
actually approached me in 2024, 6 months before that. And
Mhm.
I was like, it's a sham. It's a scam. I ignored it. And then
Mhm.
when I was ready and I let go of the control and I'm like, okay, I'm done. I tried everything in my capacity. I'm letting go. That's when I created room for universe to step in.
Mhm.
And I was like, you know what? Please do. Please, I really need help. And I'm glad I did that because once they started applying for jobs, I was talking to like 5 recruiters in a week when up until then I was maybe talking to 5 recruiters in 6 months.
Mhm.
So I think for me that was very early on in my journey in 25, when I made that intention, it was like a proof that once you
Mhm.
let go of the control, you're letting something bigger than you, a higher power to like step in and help you. But you have to
Mhm.
admit that you need help.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. I find it's so interesting that you mentioned all 3 of those books because I've read all 3 of them, and, I really enjoyed for me, I think the best one was The Surrender Experiment, and, what I think, is frustrating or not so easy to do in the moment for us is letting go, right? Because, in the book, it's like looking back at the story from like 30 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And that's so fascinating to read that book. And then you can see how everything connects, right? From the time that he
Right.
was like 20 years old until he retired when he was 70 or whatever it was, right? But the fact
Yeah.
that you have to like listen to the whole story over that time period, right? That 50-year time period. And then you're like, oh, that's how the universe intended for it to be, right? And so, one of the frustrating things that I find about my own journey and learning to surrender and letting go of the control is that, like, I don't know what's coming next, right? And so you can't look back 50 years and be like, oh, that's how the dots were going to connect, right? So,
Yeah.
mhm,
But I think that's where the wholeness comes in.
mhm,
I think the wholeness, I was asked this question a little while back, and they're like, so how do you describe wholeness? I'm like, that's a really good question. Wholeness is like the exact opposite of lacking something. It's
mhm,
like I have this desire, but I also have this absolute certainty that it's going to happen for me. I don't need to worry about the how because I think once we get caught up in the how, that's where the control
mhm,
comes in. That's where I'm like,
mhm,
I need to do all of this. I need to figure all this out. But really, you don't. You are co-creating with the universe. Like
mhm,
there's the universe is guiding you and giving you signals every moment. And it's like, well, we're so busy in that fight, get everything out. We're missing
mhm,
out on a lot of the life. So
mhm,
I think through this journey, I just became more open to be guided by the universe and to let go of the need to control every outcome.
mhm,
And I remember, um, when I started meditating, because after reading Joe Dispenza's books, like there's no way you're not going to meditate. It's like once you start reading all those stories and the outcomes people were able to get, you're like, okay, I'm missing out. Like I need to
mhm,
start doing this.
mhm,
And slowly but surely, like I started with 15, 20 minutes and it was hard, sitting still and getting my mind to shut up.
mhm.
Like there were days when I would literally like I would be meditating 1 second and the next second my body just decides to get up and move and I'm like, what we
Yeah,
were in meditation, like what just happened?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but that was like, he uses the term taming the animal. So
Mhm,
like I had to train my body to sit still. And
mhm,
once I started doing that regularly, after a month or month and a half into it, I really started enjoying it. I really
mhm,
started like connecting to the field of all possibilities. Like I really
mhm,
started connecting with there are multiple names with it. The universe, the 0 point field,
mhm.
the creator, whatever you want to call it.
The quantum field,
Um,
yeah.
I quantum field, yeah. Um, for me, I think just connecting with the field and forgetting everything about my life, I think that really became a vessel for me to receive information that wasn't there for me um, up until that. So, for example, like I started seeing these um, visions of me being, talking to a room full of women, really sharing my story to like motivate them and inspire them and like really help them change their lives for better. And I'm like,
Mhm,
wait, who is this? Like, whose life is it? Like, who's playing on this movie screen? And I'm like, universe, is that me? Like, is that supposed to be me? Is that a future version or a past version? Like, is that, I had a lot of questions, but I stuck with the process. Like, I stuck with it and
yeah.
it would not go, it would not go away.
Mhm,
Like, these visions would keep coming back. I started meditating because I'm like, I need to manifest this job. And I had such a hard time envisioning cracking a job interview and landing an offer. But this vision of me being on a stage and, talking to women and like really inspiring them to like go after their dreams, that just was like, it just came to me. And I'm like, you know what? I remember like so I have been practicing Buddhist for almost 20 years now.
mhm,
And even in my Buddhist organization, like I've held a lot of leadership roles where you go and talk to like women and inspire them. And I remember how much I enjoyed that. Over the course of last few years after becoming a mom, it kind of took a back seat. But
Mhm.
I'm like, yeah, I do. I do remember how much this thing lights me up, like how I really you know light up when I am like reminding people of their superpowers, and every single
Mhm.
one of us has that. We just forget about it.
Mhm.
And that was it. I'm like, you know what, universe, if this is going to be me, I need a confirmation. So I like started having these daily chats during my meditation with the universe. I started to
Mhm.
build a relationship, so to
Mhm.
speak. And the universe was talking to me. Like I was getting these signs. Because the day I was like, what am I supposed to do? Like, am I really going to be a speaker now? The universe, like my entire social media feed, the next thing I know is filled with TEDx speakers and TEDx workshops and so on and so forth. I'm like, okay, I guess that's my sign. I asked for it. It was literally out of nowhere. Like there was absolutely nothing up until that point. I
Mhm.
didn't have any of these things on my social media. And next thing I know, that's all my feed was showing.
It's almost like the
So
algorithm can
it was
read your
just like,
mind.
well, we think that it's fascinating. Like I'm reading a book called The Field,
Mhm.
and she goes into the science because she's interviewed all these quantum physicists and how they went about their research about quantum field and how everything is connected and how that we're less matter and more energy and so on and so forth. So we think like we are really controlling everything, but ultimately it's the field, it's the energy that is dictating the matter. So
Mhm.
your thoughts are actually not even in your brain, they're actually in the field.
Mhm.
So when you are, setting that intention and, asking for that sign, you're already, affecting a change in the field, and the field is going to reflect it back to you. So
Mhm.
that's exactly what happened. At that moment, I didn't know the science behind it, but now I'm like nerding out on all of that. And now I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, this is so fascinating.
Mhm.
I feel so empowered and I feel so much in control. And I'm like, I need to go and share this with the whole world because we are like literally, you know, powerful beings, but we think like we have nothing in our control, but it's exactly the opposite. Everything is in
Mhm.
your control. There's like infinite possibilities, but we always, because we are always in that control mode, we always pick
Mhm.
the ones that's the most familiar or that's the safest.
Mhm.
But what the universe wants for you might be 100 times greater than what you may, you know, pick up for yourself.
Mhm.
So that's a long-winded way of answering your question.
Yeah.
But I think that was really like, I figured that ultimately, like, what does wholeness mean? So, wholeness is not me chasing an outcome. Wholeness means that I am drawing that outcome in my life because I'm so sure in my intention that I'm going to have it.
Mhm.
And I think once you start living your life from that perspective, life becomes so much easier. Like, it
Mhm.
becomes so fascinating. It becomes so enjoyable. It's like almost being in an amusement park. Like I can't wait to see what ride next.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I think that's what all of us or most of us are lacking. We feel like, life is miserable or, it's happening to us, but not really. Like you are creating your life every moment.
Mhm. Mhm.
Every thought, every belief is shaping the next the next moment. So what are you thinking about? What are you focusing on? So
Mhm.
I think for me, once I learned that, it was like, well, I don't want to focus my attention on the past. Past is done. Do I even want to go back to working a 9 to 5 when I know I could be up on the stage, give a 2 hour talk, change people's lives, you know, and come back home and be with my family
Mhm.
and be making more money than I could imagine.
Yeah.
That's the life I want.
Yeah.
But I would not have let that possibility be a possibility for me if I was still stuck in that. Oh, I need to find a freaking job. Like I had to
Mhm.
literally like let go of the control
Yeah.
and let the universe speak to me.
Yeah.
And it was just fascinating. Like it literally blew my mind. Sometimes when I
Mhm.
think about it, I'm like, wow. So I think for me, it was also like this journey really helped open up this channel of communication with the universe or the quantum field, so to speak.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and, early on, it's like you start doubting yourself because, ultimately we're all humans, and I would be like, oh, I remember I was like, if I'm going to be a public speaker, I need to invest in education. Like I need to invest in some public speaking courses. Um, and I'm like, yeah, it was so funny. Like I made that intention, and within a week after that, there's a Mind Valley survey that comes out about like they're trying to design a course for speaking and influence, and they're
Mhm.
looking for some feedback. And I'm like, no way. Um, And, next thing I know, I'm like, am I supposed to take this course now? Because it literally seems like it happened at the moment, I said that intention. But I wasn't sure. I was still doubting because I was like,
Mhm.
that intuition, it speaks to you very calmly. But our logical brain gets in the way. And it did for me. And I'm like, you know what, universe, give me a sign. Give me a sign that this is the course. Like, this is it for me. Like, I'd have to take this course.
Mhm.
I don't know what sign I asked for, but it was I got that sign and it was loud and clear. And I'm like, okay, this course it is. And, of course, we were both in that class. Um,
Mhm.
After that course, I went to Miami for a speaking academy.
Mhm.
And I think through taking these actions, led by that intuition, led by the universe, seeing, following the signs, the thought of becoming a speaker, which seemed so distant and so like out there in the future, became more and more and more within reach.
Mhm.
And now when I think about, because I am I'm still in the contract, but it was a 12-month contract with the company that um, was trying to help me to find a job.
Mhm.
I have like maybe a month or two left of the contract. They're still doing their job. But I'm like, I don't think I ever want to go back to a 9 to 5 again. Because
Mhm.
it's like, I think I'm just so excited about this new life,
Mhm.
like this new um, life as a speaker, as a coach. Like I don't think it's gonna be as exciting in a 9 to 5 anymore.
Mhm.
When I have the liberty to really impact people's lives, make a
Mhm.
difference, set my own schedule, and not be working 60 hours a week,
Mhm.
and be cooped up in front of my computer and not have time to do things that I really enjoy.
Mhm.
Like I want to create a different outcome, and I know
Mhm.
it's possible.
Mhm.
You know, so yeah, it was a huge shift
Mhm.
from, my life has to be a certain way because that's how it's always been. Like, that's how I was raised. Like, I have to work a job, I have to make a money, I have to get promoted to no, it
Mhm.
doesn't have to be this way. I choose the life I want to create.
Mhm.
And you are like, I am co creating it with the universe. I think coming from that end to this end of the spectrum,
Mhm.
I think that in and of itself was a huge, huge success story for me.
Mhm. Mhm. So how does that work in your day-to-day life then when it comes to because we started the conversation with kind of people-pleasing behavior and looking for external validation. And so then when
Yeah.
you go from this extreme to, being taught and being programmed that like you have to go to a good school, get good grades, get a good job, your 9 to 5, blah blah blah, and that's just the way life is versus no, actually, I'm going to design a life that I actually enjoy living and want to live and gets me excited every single day. And when there's a disconnect between like your parents, let's say,
Mhm.
right? Because a lot of us are imprinted from
Yeah.
most of us are imprinted from our parents and the expectations that they place on us, right? And so, how has that
Yeah.
worked when, your family members, the people who love you and want to support you, but they have a very different mindset when it comes to these things versus because I feel like your story it echoes mine very beautifully. So this is, yeah.
Yeah. I was very, very gentle with myself. It wasn't easy. I think for me, it was a big thing. Like, when am I going to break this news to my parents? And I don't know how
Mhm.
are they going to react. But I
Mhm.
think I had been on this journey long enough where I was ultimately at a point where it's like my parents are going to support me no matter what.
Mhm.
The idea may seem a little alien to them because they've never really done something like that before, like public speaking, making money, but like that, it's very, very foreign to them, which
Mhm.
is okay.
Mhm.
But also looking at my life, I've done a lot of things that were illogical to them,
Mhm.
but I did it anyway. So
Mhm.
I think they have enough proof looking at my life where they're like, if she has something in her mind, it's better to just let her be because she can figure it out.
Mhm.
So I think, like I was saying earlier, your energy is very, very precious. It's like important than money, to be really
Mhm.
honest. Like, because where you're spending your energy is going to determine, like, where your energy goes is where you're putting all your attention.
Mhm.
So I did have to, for a small amount of time, literally, like, isolate myself from my extended family because I'm like, I don't have enough proof in my life at the moment where I can spill all the beans and share all the details.
Mhm.
So until I have that, I'm going to keep it private. I don't
Mhm.
want other people's opinions and energy to like interfere in what I'm trying to create because
Mhm.
ultimately we're all interconnected, right, through the field. So it's
Mhm.
like, I don't want their perception of my new reality interfere in the signal that I'm transmitting out in the universe. Like
Mhm.
that's how I saw it. So I was private about my intention for a long time, and I decided to be okay with it. My parents would bring up the topic of, so how is my job search going, and I would give them an update, and we would move on, and nothing
Mhm.
beyond that. They came and visited me, and they would see me, on Zoom every couple of days a week, taking
Mhm.
the speaking course.
Mhm.
They knew I was investing in education because I have always
Mhm.
been a learner in my life. So they didn't
Mhm.
really think much of it. But I think eventually, like before going to Miami for Speaker Academy or after, I think, my mom was like, "Are you going on another meditation retreat?" And I'm like, "No, this is not a meditation retreat," because I had gone on one um, couple of months before that. I'm like, "I'm
Mhm.
going for a speaker course." And she's like, "What's about that?" I'm like, so I had to you know, I had to give her the
Mhm.
story about this is what I plan to do. Like, I want to
Mhm.
be a public speaker, like a motivational, inspirational speaker where, you go on the stage, you give a talk.
Mhm.
You may or may not get paid, but they make a business out of it.
Mhm.
And she's like, so it's kind of like freelancing. She had questions, but she was confused. It was
Yeah.
like, what are you saying?
Mhm.
Like, kind of, yeah, I guess it is freelancing. So it's like, she was curious. And that's where it ended. It was like,
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm.
So now she brings it up every now and then, but it's like she doesn't object to it. She's still curious.
Mhm.
So she asks me, how am I going about, establishing this new life? And I'm like, well, I'm, going on podcast and talking about my story. And that way it's kind of like marketing myself.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so I think for me, really, the people that I live with, like my husband, for example, he has been supportive of everything. So
Mhm.
that was like the easy part for me. And like
Mhm.
didn't need any explanations. It was
Mhm.
like, I'm going to invest in this course. And he's like, okay, you do what you have to do. And, okay, I'm going to go to Miami for, speaking camp. Like, okay, you have to do what you have to do. So it was like,
Mhm.
he
Mhm.
was on board with it. It
Mhm.
was, I think, the extended family piece, like how are they gonna react?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
once I overcame, the limited beliefs, through, like really reprogramming my mindset.
Mhm.
And those are some of the tools that I will be using, the tools that really help me, to help people that decide to work with me, to really like get to the get to the subconscious layer of your brain and undo all that old programming
Mhm.
where
Mhm.
you're trying to you literally are pruning off old connections in your brain and
Mhm.
forming new connections.
Mhm.
So like your entire biology is going to look very different because you are not
Mhm.
thinking and acting the way that you used to.
Mhm.
um so yeah, I think the whole idea, I think, about, oh, how am I going to reveal this to my family, how are they going to react, I I also surrendered. I
Mhm.
was like, I'm going to let universe take care of it also.
Mhm.
I don't have to think about every single detail myself. Because,
Mhm.
I was experimenting, again, the word allow
Mhm.
was like the baseline for everything. I'm going to let the universe step in and do its thing.
Mhm.
So it was funny, like how when I was trying to distance myself to like protect my energy, my interaction with my parents became very, very like limited and like very, very formal, like 10 minutes
Mhm.
a week and that's it. So it wasn't
Mhm.
like, and that was mostly because they wanted to see the grandson and, connect with the
Mhm.
grandkid and was
Yeah.
like, okay, this is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but then when the time was right, when there was like the seed had sprung from the ground, it was like, okay, there's a plant. I think we can share the news. And I just felt like internally, like I had my intuition was like, yeah, I think it's okay for you to now tell them.
Mhm.
Because you've taken concrete action where you're like, I'm certain this is happening. Like,
Mhm.
it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when I broke the news and it wasn't really that bad, honestly.
Mhm.
I think I probably created a lot of, uh, may have created a lot of anxiety in myself
Mhm.
if I did not surrender, if I was trying
Mhm.
to control everything. But I
Mhm.
think letting that softness in kind of made the process easier.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, that's so interesting to me because yeah, like when I was trying to explain to my parents like my vision for the future, and I just remember my dad, he was saying like, You want to be a speaker?" And he's like, "Don't you have to be famous for that?" And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that was like a
Yeah. That's a
bigger,
valid question.
yeah, that was like, because
Yeah.
he's like, "Isn't that like what celebrities do?" Like, or like retired hockey people, like a hockey, like,
The,
what's his name? Uh, Wayne Gretzky, I think he does some motivational speaking and stuff because I'm Canadian, right? So, but anyways, like, he's like, "Isn't that what like celebrities do and stuff like that?" And so I was like, "No,
yeah.
dad, like, people pay for this," you know? He's like, "They pay you for that?" And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Yes, dad, they do."
Yeah. And I feel like it's the meaning that you associate with those questions. Like they're
Mhm.
really coming from a place of curiosity because they really don't have any context of this. Because this
Yeah.
idea is so new and so
Mhm.
like foreign to them. They've never
Mhm.
really thought about this possibility. But that does like we've all done things in our lives where our parents probably never thought about those things for you, but you
Mhm.
did them anyway.
Yeah, well,
For me, like, it was when my husband and I we moved to US from India like 15 years ago. Nobody in my family had relocated to a foreign country up until then. So it
mhm.
was totally, illogical to them. Like, why would anybody do that? You have a good life here, you have a
Mhm.
job, you have a career.
Yeah.
You want to go on a spouse visa and not be able to work and literally reinvent the wheel and start from scratch? Like, just
Mhm.
stay here with us. Like, life is
Mhm.
so easy. I'm like, not really.
Mhm.
I am supposed to be where, first of all, my life is, which is with my husband. And second of all, I don't want to be be stuck in the house with my parents. And that's the one thing that I'm like trying to run away from,
Yeah. Yeah.
jokes aside. But it was like,
Yeah.
there was something like universe already had planned my life here. And
Mhm.
that's what was calling my name.
Mhm.
My parents in their brain, it was like super illogical. Why would I do that? And
Mhm.
they gave me grief about it for a long time, like
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
long time. But then eventually, like after, 2 years of really struggling to find a job after I moved here, I was like, you know what? I have always wanted to go to grad school to get my MBA. What is stopping me? Well, you don't have the money. My brain would say, well, you don't have a job, so how are you going to pay for grad school?
Mhm.
Grad school is expensive.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, you know what? Um, it's funny, when I say the universe is always giving you signs, the universe gave me a sign because then I had um my one of my co- uh, one of the people that I went to college with. They moved in to our apartment complex. Literally, they moved in uh on the first floor,
Mhm.
and I hadn't seen this person for oh my gosh, I don't know, for quite a few years. his wife was going to grad school, and that's why they
Mhm.
moved to Arizona from somewhere in Minnesota.
Mhm.
Like, what are the odds?
Yeah.
I am trying to like wrap my brain around how to, get into grad school and how to secure funds to do that. And I run into a known person whose wife is doing exactly what I want to do.
Mhm.
And that to me became like, okay, if she can do it, why can't I do it?
Mhm.
So I think that was again, a breadcrumb from the universe. Here,
Mhm.
just take the first step. I'm taking, a step with you.
Mhm.
But there would still be days when, my husband and I were like looking at, how are we going to pay for once I secured the spot and I got into
Mhm.
the school, it was like, it was official, I was going to go to grad school. And I'm like, okay, how are we going to pay for this now?
Mhm.
We would rack our brain and then we were like, there's no way, we can come up with a plan on how to pay for this.
Mhm.
And we left it at that. Like, um, I was fortunate. I think the universe really showed up big for me because um, the school literally like reduced the fees by 50%. Because I was given
Wow.
scholarship as an
Wow.
international student. And I could not have expected that or, came up with that possibility on my own. But it was
Mhm.
like, when you take a step, universe is willing to take 5 steps with you.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think knowing that this had already happened in my life where I was really trusting a lot on the unknown
Mhm.
and letting go and looking at the outcome, going to grad school, graduating,
Mhm.
finding a really good job and, building a new life
Mhm.
in a new country, which against all the odds, I think that gave my parents also a proof that when she says something,
Mhm.
it may not really make sense in that moment, but eventually they come around. Like it
Mhm.
does make sense
Mhm.
eventually. So I think when I broke the news, my mom probably was like, "Yeah, you know what? It's better to just let her do
Mhm.
her thing because
Mhm.
I've proven them wrong before. Just yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah." So yeah, it was funny like how my mom went from it doesn't make any sense. Why would you leave your life behind in India and move to a new country to wow, you really did it. Like if
Mhm.
anyone can do it, it will be you, like in this
Mhm.
family, who can
Mhm.
take such a bold step
Mhm.
and do, like she would go about share my story to like with other people in the family were
Mhm.
like she was really proud of what I did. So for her to
Mhm.
come around 180 degrees, like from being absolutely against my decision to be like, okay, if my daughter can do this, anyone can do this and everyone should
Mhm.
do it.
Mhm.
I think that was a proof enough where she's now stopped questioning,
Mhm.
when I
Mhm.
have an unreasonable thought, she's like, okay, just let her do
Mhm.
what she's at something. She's, let her be.
Yeah. And I think that's why, telling these stories and getting these stories out to the world is so important because there are people out there who are doubting themselves or doubting that these things are actually possible, right? And there's a lot of the time where I think we end up saying, oh, like they're special, like things happen to those people, but it would not happen to me, right? And so then we don't even bother trying sometimes because we have those doubts.
That's right.
And I think that's why it's so important to get these stories out that say like, look, if I did it, then you can do it too, right? Like all these public speakers that we know, right? Like Eric and like Lisa Nichols and like Regan Hillier and all these public speakers that we know and love through the Mind Valley community and beyond. And it's like they all did were like in the spot where we were at one point in time. And if they
Yeah.
can do it, like that shows that it's possible, right? And then it gives other people the courage, I think, to actually go out there and also do it.
Yeah. I I just every time I hear Regan's story about, how she left the architecture school because a
Mhm.
voice in her told her just run away
Mhm.
at the age of 17.
Mhm.
I just really connect to that story so much. Like I didn't run
Mhm.
away from an architecture school, but I ran away from my country, from my
Mhm.
family, from everything to a
Mhm.
brand frigging new country where I had absolutely no plan. Why am
Mhm.
I going except the fact that something in me tells me I need to be there?
Mhm.
Um, I think I really connect with her because I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, I have done a lot of things that were absolutely illogical to people, but somehow they made sense to me. And that was like
Mhm.
the obvious choice for me at that point in time. And I went with it
Mhm.
only to be, only to realize that, wow, there was a much bigger plan unfolding that I couldn't see, but my intuition was like telling me, just go with it.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
think that's where most of us, um, when we are in that mind frame of controlling everything and, not being able to loosen the grip, I think that's where we miss out on the possibilities because our, we get so hyper focused on our brains are honestly like a record of the past.
Mhm.
Like, if we think 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day and 95% of them, of those thoughts are exactly the same thoughts that you thought last, the day before, the week before, the
Mhm.
month before,
Mhm.
the a year before. Like
Mhm.
if you think about it, you've been operating in the past more than you're operating in the future.
Mhm.
So I think again, going back to what Joe Dispenza says in his books, it's like you have to literally start thinking, acting, and behaving like your future self before your future
Mhm.
is here.
Mhm.
So that way, your biology is already wired for a future, and the quantum field has no choice but
Mhm.
to reflect that reality back to you.
Mhm. Mhm.
We go about the other way around, right? We're like, let my reality change first, and then I'm going to be grateful for it.
Mhm.
Or let me, see the proof, and then I'm going to take action, or something of
Mhm.
that nature. Or
Mhm.
so I think for me, I'm still practicing letting go within reason. And when I am it's within reason because I can't go. I think I'm still way, way behind Michael Singer's level of
Yeah. Yeah.
surrender. But I feel like anytime I'm feeling like I'm trying to control the outcome and it's really backfiring, I remind myself to like just let loose a little bit and
Mhm.
let go of the control because right now trying to control the outcome is causing you more pain
Mhm.
than trying to create joy in your life.
Mhm.
I think prioritizing joy over fear,
Mhm.
because I think control is ultimately fear in disguise.
Mhm.
Because if I let loose, then something bad is gonna happen.
Mhm.
That's the root
Mhm.
of control.
Mhm.
I think that's been huge. Just
Yeah.
really building your faith. And I read the book Universe Has Your Back.
Mhm.
I don't know if you've read it. It's
Yeah, I have.
by Gabriel Bernstein.
Yeah.
When I was really working on, establishing that communication with the universe. And she gives examples and, how she meditates and tries to like, you know, have a prayer if she's like trying to let go of something and like really inviting more guidance from the universe. And I think that really helped me even become more open to, there are multiple ways in which you can establish that two-way communication with the universe. You just
Mhm.
have to be it's very unheard of. And I think a lot of us have never really practiced it before and we've never been taught, or I shouldn't say taught, but more like we've never really been given an example to follow.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
I've never really seen like my mom would pray and she's religious, but I've never really seen her like her religion or her faith in practice, like in
Mhm.
execution. It's
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
theoretical faith.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I think
I
what
would.
I was trying to do,
Yeah, I would agree with
yeah,
that, like, I mean, because obviously I grew up in with a Chris well, maybe not obviously, but I grew up in a Christian background, right? So, um, like, it's interesting, like, when you grow up in a religious household or, like, a Christian household, and it's like you do these things, it's like, okay, you pray before you eat or you pray before bed or whatever, but you
yeah,
don't necessarily recognize what it is that you're doing. Like, to me, like,
yeah,
manifestation or prayer is a type of manifestation, right? And so it's like working with the universe. And I think that most people in the Christian tradition, at least, or probably most major religions, they don't actually get taught that that's what they're doing through prayer. And so there's a disconnect, which is why I think a lot of the time people, it's like they're doing like prayer is almost like begging when that's not really how it
mm,
works, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I always had issues with that. Like growing
Mhm.
up in India, because I was born and raised a Hindu, and we're big, or most Hindus are really big on um, idol worship,
Mhm.
and we have a lot of people who are like so-called gurus, and people
Mhm.
almost start worshiping them. And
Mhm.
I've always had problems with that. I'm like,
Mhm.
they're just a human being,
Mhm.
like, what's so special? Like,
Mhm.
why are we putting them on a pedestal and worshiping them?
Mhm. Mhm.
Like, that never sat well with me. And
Mhm.
I would question it openly. And my parents did
Mhm.
not like that. They're like, stop being, and I'm like, it's
Yeah.
curious, like,
Yeah.
but I, I also, I was reading this book. It's called Power of Your Subconscious Mind. But I think it's Phil Murphy. He's a PhD. And
Okay.
he's like, when people pray, it's like we pray to God and we think like God is making it happen. But ultimately, it's your subconscious mind. And it's like the field, right? Like your subconscious mind is part of this bigger entity, which is the quantum field. And once you pray, you're like setting an intention, and once you are associating actual emotions with it, that's when you are like starting to, the observer effect, you're like
Mhm.
starting to convert that
Mhm.
wave into a particle.
Mhm.
So, it's fascinating how when you start seeing actual scientists, break faith down into actual science.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I can get behind that. Like I've
I love
always
that.
questioned things,
Yeah. Yeah, I love that,
right? It's
honestly.
like,
For me, that's especially coming from a Western tradition, right? Where everything is supposed to be backed
yeah,
in science, right? And so it's like,
right.
I think it's so fascinating, this like new field like quantum physics, right? And the way that quantum physics intersects with, manifestation and reality creation and stuff. So for me, I wrote that down because I'm like, I want to read this book because anything that connects the two
Yeah.
together, I'm just like, I'm such a nerd when it comes to that.
Yeah. And it's like, it breaks it down and makes it so simple. And one thing I like about Dr. Joe Dispenza is he's like, religion divides people, but
Mhm.
science forms a community and brings them together. So
Mhm.
I think once you start honing in on the science, the room for negotiation or the room for disagreement is very, very less, because then you're
Mhm.
talking about numbers and data.
Mhm.
Um, when I went to his meditation retreat last year, he has a team of scientists who work with them, right?
Mhm.
Uh, Doing all these research on what meditation is actually doing and
Mhm.
how it's really changing people's biology within a week. The people
Mhm.
who come and the people who go back home are totally two different people. Like totally do
Mhm.
their biology is totally different.
Mhm.
And I felt that. Like when I was coming back home, I'm like, how am I going to fit into my life that I left 5 days ago? Like
Mhm.
it was just, it was like I left that part of me there in Nashville when I came
Mhm.
back.
Mhm.
Um, so, ultimately, it's like when they break it down to science, and there's 2,000 people in the room
Mhm.
from different nationalities, different religions, different
Mhm.
backgrounds, they all get behind it. And I
Mhm.
think one thing that is so beautiful is how he's empowering, because there are a lot of people who are going through some major illnesses who come to these retreats so that they can heal themselves.
Mhm.
And big part of his retreats are these coherence healings,
Mhm.
where all the healers, which are all the attendees, um, are basically making a change in the field,
Mhm.
you know, um, collectively to help
Mhm.
heal this person.
Mhm.
So it's not like we are healing this person. It's we are sending a signal out
Mhm.
collectively in a synchronistic way into the field, and it's the field that is changing, which is ultimately going to reflect in the biology.
Mhm.
So it's the energy dictating the matter and not the matter dictating the
Mhm.
energy. And I think
Mhm.
that just for me was so fascinating. Like, the all the science behind that he showed, all the data that he showed, it was like there's so much proof, even for like, people like sometimes people like my husband who's like super, super logical, and he
Mhm.
doesn't believe in, you know, spirituality. I mean, in his own way he does, but he's like,
Mhm.
okay, don't give me that energy
Mhm.
woo-woo type of explanation. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
but I'm just saying there's enough
Mhm.
science behind it. for
Mhm.
you to read, and
Mhm.
things will make sense. Like, you don't have
Mhm.
to believe me, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
But it's fascinating how, how a team of scientists who are super, super logical and question everything,
Mhm.
like they're gathering this data, they're making conclusions, and they're still kind of like wrapping their brains, trying to wrap their brains behind, like, this is really
Mhm.
happening.
Mhm.
Like, how can a person who's never walked in their life able to get up from a wheelchair in a matter of 5 days?
Mhm.
How is that possible? But
Mhm.
then when they study the data, it's like they are not the same person who came in.
Mhm.
So it's like when you start seeing the evidence, and I know a lot of people think that, oh, those are just made up stories or they're not real because he has a lot of testimonials on YouTube, right, of people
Mhm.
sharing their stories.
Mhm.
People don't believe them.
Mhm.
For me, I know it was big because when I was trying to cultivate that certainty that I was talking about, I think for
Mhm.
me, these testimonials were big. Like, I
Mhm.
would literally
Mhm.
watch these testimonials for hours.
Mhm.
And that would really strengthen my belief because,
Mhm.
like you were saying, how do you, because your reality takes time to shift.
Mhm.
I'm trying to envision this new life of being a speaker and, working only a certain number of hours a week and just, that life looks very different from my life today. So when I
Mhm.
open my eyes and I'm coming out of meditation, it's like, how am I going to react now? Like, am
Mhm.
I going to just get hung up on this current physical reality, or how do I stay in that future reality that I'm trying to
Mhm.
bring or call into
Mhm.
this physical reality?
Mhm.
So I think for me, um, that is an that is an a conscious practice that I had to cultivate, and I'm still working on it.
Mhm.
Um, it's like, don't let your six senses fool you,
Mhm.
because we think that we know it all because our six senses are trying to give us
Mm.
information, but we're only seeing like a very, very small portion of the visible light.
Mhm.
The spectrum of information beyond what our eyes or our six senses can perceive is
Mhm.
so much wider.
Mhm.
Um, that's when, your six senses kind of almost fail you or
Mhm.
limit you. I shouldn't say
Mhm.
fail, but limit you, because
Mhm.
there's so much information out there that
Mhm.
your six senses are not capturing.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that information was available to me when I went into meditation, when I really slowed my logical brain
Mhm.
down
Mhm.
and really went into those deep meditative states. That's when
Mhm.
that information becomes accessible. So I think another book that I read, I know I'm like throwing so many books out there, but that tells you how much I've been on this journey to like explore, read, and like figure questions out.
Mhm.
The Power of the No, Wishes Fulfilled by Wayne Dyer.
Okay.
And he talks about um, how you need to work on making your objective reality or your objective world more real than your subjective world. Or am
Mhm.
I saying it the other way around?
You need
No,
to
it's your
make
subjective world
y
needs to be more real.
yeah, like, you need to make your 5D reality more real than your 3D reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, what you're trying to create, the outcome you're trying to create, it's so certain and absolute in your body that you're not getting swayed by the
Mhm.
immediate surroundings
Mhm.
because you're so sure about that happening,
Mhm.
that certainty again.
Mhm.
I think that's where we can really tap into the power of our brains, because our brains
Mhm.
can't differentiate between real and fiction, right?
Mhm.
It's like you could be dreaming about a certain food and salivating by just dreaming about it, because
Mhm.
that's how objective our brains are.
Mhm.
So instead of focusing our brains on what I'm lacking or on the past, I'm going to focus my brain on what I'm trying to create. And I'm
Mhm.
going to focus my brain on the future
Mhm.
and let that, um, feel those emotions of the future, feel that excitement
Mhm.
of being on the stage, feel that
Mhm.
excitement of people walking up to me and sharing, like, oh, that talk was exactly what I needed. And thank you for
Mhm.
sharing your story. It really helped me. I think those emotions are really helping train your body
Mhm.
and yet like change your biology to be wired for the
Mhm.
future.
Mhm.
And ultimately, it's just a matter of space and time,
Mhm.
you know. and your physical reality will catch up with you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just feel like once you start breaking it down into science, and make it easier for people to understand the science behind manifestation, and it's not actual woo woo, but there's
Mm-hmm.
theories and principles behind it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like it's like, why wouldn't you do it? Why
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't you do it?
Mm-hmm. So how do you deal
Yeah.
with that in your life then with your husband, for example, who is like not entirely on board with the woo woo part of it? So
I
like
don't
when
convince I don't convince him, you know.
yeah.
I don't and I don't argue with him. I just
Mhm.
let it be. Like,
Mhm.
not everyone has to think and act the way I do. And I think that's
Mhm.
the beauty of our relationship.
Mhm.
That we are similar in some ways and not similar in others.
Mhm.
Um, I have to say though, like my 8-year-old is so on board with the universe and the energy.
Mhm.
And he's sometimes like, how come dad doesn't believe in all of this? I'm like, it's
Mhm.
okay. It's okay for him to not believe Um, it's just, I think most people, like my husband, where they're like so focused on the left brain
Mhm.
working, like the logical mind, and they haven't
Mhm.
really used the right brain as much. So
Mhm.
I feel like it's just a matter of time
Mhm.
that he'll come around.
Mhm.
Um, I don't force anything on him. I will share what I feel. I will, and ultimately it is what it is.
Mhm.
Um, People who are going to believe it are going to believe it. People who are not,
Mhm.
is like time will, it's like, again, let the universe take over. I don't have to
Mhm.
figure everything out. It's like
Mhm.
he supports me in what I'm doing, and that in the end is all that matters. Like
Mhm.
I don't have to convert him. I don't have to
Mhm.
convince him,
Mhm.
and I leave it at that.
Mhm.
And I think that's how, like, I wouldn't argue with someone who says that, law of attraction is not real or manifestation is just, you know, putting hard work to get your way to
Mhm.
an outcome. I'm not going to sit there and argue with them.
Mhm.
Um, but it's like if someone is really struggling and they've, tried every possible action plan and execution and they're still feeling stuck,
Mhm.
I will share with them if
Mhm.
they're willing to listen, if they're willing to
Mhm.
give it another try, because this is something that they've not explored before.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
think those are the people that I'm like trying to reach, um, where it's like you've done every possible logical, you step that you could have taken, on trying to create this outcome, but it's still not there.
Mhm.
So why not start with using your mind and your body differently than you have in
Mhm.
the past? Why not
Mhm.
rewire your brain for the future? Why not change your biology for future? Um, yeah, it's just there's so many stories that I've read about how people have changed themselves by creating changes in the quantum field. It's like I don't doubt it anymore.
Mhm.
And there's one, I don't know if you've heard of this, maybe you have. um, they were sharing the story with us in the retreat where they'd studied the electromagnetic fields of all the women who had uterine cancer, and all of their electromagnetic fields looked exactly the same way.
Mhm.
They did the same study on healthy women,
Mhm.
and they discovered that uh, the healthy women, some of them, their electromagnetic fields did not look anything like these women who were dealing with uterine cancer.
Mhm.
But then there were also a part of these healthy women whose electromagnetic field was showing signs, was looking similar to the fields of the women who had cancer,
Mhm.
which essentially is there's signs in the field already.
Mhm.
If you're supposed to get that disease in the future. So
Mhm.
basically, it's again the field dictating the matter. It's not
Mhm.
so they haven't been diagnosed yet,
Mhm.
but their electromagnetic field is already showing
Mhm.
those same patterns like the ones that
Mhm.
had that illness.
Mhm.
So it's like once you, it's a valid study. It's like there on the internet for anyone
Mhm.
to check it out.
Mhm.
It's like once you read that, how can you go back to living
Mhm.
the same way? Like, we hold no power.
Yeah.
So I think for me, ultimately, it's like anytime I run into a situation where my logical mind is like, oh, here we go again. How are you going to tackle this? It's like,
Mhm.
no, we can tackle whatever. It's energy dictating matter. It's not matter dictating energy. Like I have to keep reminding myself. And like,
Mhm.
again, read every time it's like I emphasize on a certain way of thinking, I am strengthening that connection in my brain.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I am like forcing my brain to like focus on positive outcomes
Mhm.
versus staying stuck in the negative.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so for me, one thing that I um, starting to practice more because I've invested in coaching with Regan recently. She emphasizes on like setting an alarm on your phone for like every hour,
Mhm.
even if it's for 2 minutes,
Mhm.
and connecting with the field and envisioning, connecting with the field for your future and like
Mhm.
trying to basically speed up the timeline for the
Mhm.
wave to
Mhm.
collapse.
Mhm.
So I haven't gone to that extreme of like setting an alarm and doing it every hour. But I
Mhm.
think what she's trying to again emphasize is your brain learns through repetition. So the
Mhm.
more you repeat,
Mhm.
envisioning your future and like
Mhm.
training your body for it, the
Mhm.
quicker your reality changes. Like
Mhm.
that's basically it. It's
Mhm.
very simple if you think about it. So I think for me, I just have to go in, put an alarm maybe for every 2 to 3 hours where I take 2 to 3 minutes and just like close my eyes, slow my brain down and just focus on envisioning that future and feeling the emotions
Mhm.
of the future and let my body attune itself to the future.
Mhm.
And, then it's
Yeah.
just a matter of calling it in.
I think that's really interesting because there's a few things that I connect there with my own story. One of them is like for me going to university and finishing my commerce degree, and then I also went back to school and I did my MBA as well. But like for me, like that inherent knowing that like of course I'm going to finish my degree and get my
Yeah.
BCom, or of course I'm going to finish my degree and get my masters, and so then when it actually
Yeah.
happened, it's not that I wasn't like proud of myself, but it was kind of like, and this is what Regan
Yeah.
said as well in some of her talks, where like she made her first $1 million or something like that, and she was kind of like underwhelmed by it because it was like, well, of course I was going to make $1 million. Like it was
Yes.
inevitable,
Right.
And that's kind of how I felt about getting my university degrees, because it was like, well, of course I'm going to, get my degrees. Like it doesn't even make sense to me that it wouldn't happen. So that's
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah.
but it's interesting to me because I have those examples in my life. I have those examples. Like I remember after I finished my MBA and I went through this interview process for this job. I think it was like 5 or 6 interviews that I went through before I got this job. But like there was just this inherent knowing that it was like, of course I'm gonna get this
Mm,
job. Like and
yeah.
and I did get
Yeah.
the job afterwards.
Right.
But yeah, so it's interesting to me, like when you have those intuitive, like you just know kind of thing. But then for me, also something that I struggle with is like for this speaking business and like I'm trying not to come at it from a sense of desperation and just like, of course, I'm going to be like a globally recognized international speaker. Like it's fucking inevitable. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And so,
Yeah. I think it's, y- we're, as human beings, we're looking for proof
mhm,
and we are trying to find those proof through our six senses again. And we're
mhm,
trying to like, and that proof eludes us.
mhm,
So I feel like a lot of times we rob ourselves of what could be because we're like so hung up on what is.
mhm,
And like you said, I had that same feeling when I appeared for like my first interview at grad school. and there was like 4 or 5 interviews back to back, and I'm like
Mhm.
just approaching them with so much confidence and certainty, like
Mhm.
I have it in the bag, and of course I got the job.
Mhm.
But it was like, how come that certainty kind of dissipated over the years? Because that was
Mhm.
like 10 years ago, or I don't know how long
Mhm.
ago. Yeah, but that was a long time ago, 14 years ago.
Mhm.
Um, like I wanna like when I started on this journey, with my coach, like I remember I said these exact words to her. Like I want to like cultivate unshakable faith in the universe. So it's like
Mhm.
nothing can stop me. Like I wanna be
Mhm.
unstoppable. Like whatever comes to my mind, I'm like, yes, I can do it. Like
Mhm.
because that's how I was. That's how the 30-year-old me was when I was,
Mhm.
applying for grad schools. Like
Mhm.
nothing was stopping me.
Mhm.
Um, in fact, I had to take my GMAT 3 times.
Mhm.
Like that's another story for another time because my GMAT scores were so low. Like I'm
Mhm.
like, I can't get into any freaking grad school with those low scores.
Mhm.
It took me 3 tries to ultimately hit the target score that I was
Mhm.
hitting. But if I
Mhm.
had, let those things get in the way of retaking the test 3 times, it would, I wouldn't be here. So
Mhm.
it's like you have enough proof in your own life where when you went in with certainty, the universe showed up for you and you,
Mhm.
created the results.
Mhm.
But at the same time, we're logical beings.
Mhm.
That's why I'm like, you know, really connect with yourself outside of your six senses, disconnect with your six senses, go inward and you
Mhm.
will know.
Mhm.
You will know what you have to do and you are being guided.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like we are we are so trained on, you know, um, trusting other people more than we trust ourselves.
Mhm.
It's like, and that was another thing that I learned through my own journey, right? Like my intuition is always talking to me, but it's very, very subtle.
Mhm.
Like it's not going to push itself on me. It's going to guide me. Am I listening
Mhm.
to it or am I still going with my logical
Mhm.
mind?
Mhm.
Um, so I think when I slow down and when I'm really in that playful mood and like I'm really having fun and letting loose, that's when I like really get these downloads almost or like,
Mhm.
ideas
Mhm.
where it's like, oh, okay. I think like things that you are kind of seeking answers for, you're not quite sure. And then it's like, just start having fun with life. And then,
Mhm.
that information comes to you all of a sudden when you are least
Mhm.
expecting it.
Mhm.
And I think that's the beauty of like opening that channel for communication with the universe. It's like,
Mhm.
ask for help,
Mhm.
ask to be guided, and you will be. It's like you don't have to have it all figured out. You just have
Mhm.
to be willing to take action and take that
Mhm.
first step.
Yeah.
Like, even like going to Miami, I was like, am I supposed to do that? Kind of early on in my speaker journey. Maybe I should wait
Mhm.
a couple years,
Mhm.
to have the training, blah, blah, blah. And I had reached out to Eric and I'm like, would you really recommend it for a person who's like starting basically from scratch? And,
Mhm.
he's like, that's exactly why you need it. Because,
Mhm.
whatever we're doing in the course on Zoom, it's like all theory. But
Mhm.
Speaking Academy is going to be like actually doing the practical with the
Mhm.
theory.
Mhm.
So I feel like I went in with a solid foundation because of the course,
Mhm.
but then Academy itself was like all about getting it out of your system, like
Mhm.
rehearsing those stories so much so that
Mhm.
like after 5 days of doing that, from morning 9 a.m. to until like 1 or 2 a.m. in the night,
Mhm.
it's like that's enough proof for your body to like start believing it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And one thing that he had emphasized to all of us is like, don't let this momentum die out. And
Mhm.
don't let that, once you go back home, don't let your environment start pulling you back into your
Yeah.
shell.
Yeah.
What we have been accustomed to, or
Mhm.
society has imposed its rule on us. Because
Mhm.
what he really made us practice was being loud, like,
Mhm.
high pitched, because nobody does that.
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to be soft and subtle and polite and kind.
Especially as
But he's like,
women. Especially as women, you know?
that were actually created where you're supposed to literally scream. And I was like having such a hard time screaming. I'm like, I've never screamed in my life. And it was
Mhm.
just, but then after you do it, it's like you feel so much energy in your body. It's like
Mhm.
people were asking him, it's like, how do I feel so energetic going until like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. in the night after we've been doing this for the whole day? And he's like, because it takes a lot of energy to hold you back, to
Mhm.
keep you in your shell. And,
Mhm.
you are releasing all that energy by being yourself,
Mhm.
by being your truest, authentic self.
Mhm.
And it was just amazing how 5 days and really long days,
Mhm.
15, 16 hours, we were barely getting any sleep.
Mhm.
And we were like at our A games. We were just having
Mhm.
so much fun. And it was like, it just created this momentum where like stepping on the stage, it's like, it's not about fear anymore because it's about your story wanting to come out
Mhm.
where the other people are gonna benefit so much from hearing it.
Mhm.
You can't keep it to yourself. Like you have
Mhm.
to share it.
Yeah.
It's like a selfless act, and you would
Yeah.
be acting selfish if you didn't.
Yeah. I get that way actually a lot of the time when I'm DJing. And so like the translation from DJing to public speaking, like so many things cross over, right? And so for me, like when I'm DJing, and obviously you're DJing at like really erratic hours. So you have like really long days. You're DJing at like sometimes you're up like you're starting at like midnight, and then you open the night and then you close the night, right? So you're playing at like 8 in the
Yeah.
morning or something like that after like no sleep, not
Yeah.
eating. And it's those sets
Yeah.
that I actually find sometimes are the best sets, because it's like you have to go deep within yourself to find the energy. Like, and I've had a few times where I just like I go into those sets and I'm so tired, like I just like I'm gonna cry because I'm so tired. But
Mhm.
then when you start playing and you get like this energy just comes out of nowhere, because it's just like you're putting yourself out there, you're sharing yourself with with people, and it's like the universe just provides what you need in order to do the things that you're
Yeah.
there to do, right? So it's really incredible when you're in flow and working with the universe in that way.
Yeah. And that's why they say that anything that's meant for you is supposed to give you energy
Mhm.
and not
Mhm.
rob you of it. I
Yeah.
remember like I would be in like when I was interviewing for jobs like last year, I would be in like 4 or 5 hour interviews and I would be so exhausted after them.
Mhm.
Like I would be drained, like almost like I ran a marathon. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I need to be in bed for the next 8 hours. Like,
Yeah.
don't ask me to do anything. And then I'm like, here in the speaker academy, we went on from like morning 8 a.m. until 2 or 3 in the night, barely getting any sleep. And we did
Mhm.
that on repeat for 5 days.
Mhm. Mhm.
And my body was like, yes, ready to do it
Mhm.
again.
Mhm.
It's like, it's meant for you. That's
Mhm.
why, your body is giving you signs. It's talking to you like,
Yeah.
yes, it is meant for you.
Yeah.
Because things that are not meant for you are going to suck everything out of you.
Well, and
And
I think that's part of the reason why we have like an epidemic though also of like when you go to your job that you hate, right? And then it just completely drains you, and then you just don't have the energy to do anything else, right? And it's like you get stuck in this cycle when you fall into that trap. And so it's really hard to get out, especially because, like you said, when you go back home, and so I took this coaching course one time, and the guy talked about it like a pendulum, right? And so it's like the
mm,
pendulum swings and it tries to pull you back into equilibrium, right? So you're like swinging out here,
yeah,
and like society wants to pull you back here, and it becomes really hard. And I think that's why it's so important, like you moving away from home, like moving away from your parents, and so that you can start this, because no matter like your parents can love you, you can love your parents, but it's just because they have a certain mindset. Your family, your friends have a certain
yeah,
mindset of, and then it becomes really hard to keep out of it if they keep trying to draw you back in. Like, no, just go get a job,
Yeah.
like, security, blah, blah, blah. Which also, like, there's really no security within a job anyway, because, businesses go bankrupt, they
Oh,
downsize. Like, so just because you
right.
have a job, that's not security either.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Again, I think it's the stories that we tell ourselves and the stories
Mm-hmm.
that we buy into.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, not to really paint our parents in a bad light, but that's
No,
all they knew.
no,
You
yeah.
know, it's like what was passed on to them, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what they're passing on to us. But I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where I'm like kind of cutting the cord. But I'm like, I want to
Mm-hmm.
pass on something different to my kids.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
um, like I am trying to teach my son about having this connection with the universe,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like you can create magic. You
Mm-hmm.
can ask universe for whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he's very transactional. He's like, how come I don't still have it? I'm like, well, give it time.
Yeah.
The universe is not like literally just like gonna give it to you. Like you have
Yeah.
to do your part as well, right?
Mhm.
But I'm like, I have to start him young, and I have to like demonstrate to him through my
Mhm.
example, because
Mhm.
kids are picking up on everything more than we
Yeah.
realize. That's why I'm
Yeah.
like, I feel like I am on this journey not just for myself, but I'm like changing the trajectory of way of how I'm shaping
Mhm.
my future generations. And I think
Mhm.
Regan also talks about it, like 7 generations in the past and 7 in the
Mhm.
future.
Mhm.
Like when you are doing the work, you are literally changing,
Yeah.
the entire trajectory of your
Yeah.
family
Yeah.
history and your
Yeah.
family, which is,
Yeah.
yet
Well,
to come.
yeah, and I think that's also why, like, like intergenerational trauma exists, because they're passing along those stories and limiting beliefs, generation to generation, right? And like from my example, like my parents were not entrepreneurial, right? So the idea for them
Right.
of like being an entrepreneur and starting my own businesses and things like that's very foreign to them, where they prefer like the security of a regular job where they can show up, do their work, go home, and they
Right.
don't have to think about it, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Same, exactly same for me.
Mhm.
My parents associated having a job with security and stability,
Mhm.
only to come find out like I was let go from my job when I was on a vacation. Like, do you
Mhm.
really think that
Yeah.
that's security? Like, can
Yeah,
you? And that was like when I had the job.
I was let go from my job like the day after I got back from a vacation. So,
It's like, yeah, it's like, that's a myth. Like,
yeah.
that's a lie that we've been telling ourselves. And
Mhm.
I was there in that job for 10 years,
Yeah.
right? It's like,
Mhm.
I thought I was like, they couldn't get rid of me because I knew so much about the business and everything that I will take that information with me if they were to
Mhm.
let me go. But
Mhm.
here I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
So
yeah.
So, well, we are like overtime on our call today. So it was a really really great call though. So thank you so much for taking the time. For our viewers, where is the best or what is the best way for them to find you online and follow you?
Yeah, I am on Instagram, whole beyond roles, where
Okay.
people can connect with me. Um, I have created a small questionnaire to help people on their journey to wholeness.
Uh huh.
It's a really small survey, takes maybe 2, 3 minutes, 10
Okay.
questions. Basically, it gives you a score at the end and gives you some suggestions like on where on the wholeness spectrum you land, and
Mm-hmm.
things or practices you can adopt to help shift you from acting out of fear and in control where I was to more being open and
Mm-hmm.
trusting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I shared that link with you,
Yes,
so
yeah, I have the link, so
the
we'll link
viewers
it.
can have that.
Yeah, we'll link it below in the description so people can go through that. And
Yeah, and then,
I'll
once they take the survey, if they want to go deeper into that journey with me, it gives them a choice to book a discovery call and go from there.
perfect. Amazing. Thank you again, Isha, so much for your time. I really enjoyed this conversation. I'd love to have you back on the show again because I feel like we could just keep talking forever.
Yes, it was a pleasure. Like I enjoyed myself so much. And I am Yeah, I would love to be back, for
Yeah,
round two, because, yeah, we literally could go on for another 2 hours.
I know, I know. Okay, so have an amazing day and I'll see you next time.
Thank you. You too.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.